to Optometry Unleashed. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Miranda. Our guest today is someone who's been immersed in the eye care world since day one. Alex McIntosh grew up working in his family's optical stores, where he saw up close the hard work that goes into running a business and the frustration of losing customers to online giants and big box retailers. It's something all of us can relate to. Alex set out to create a solution by building Otto, a software platform designed to help independent clinics retain their patients and stay competitive in a digital world. We've gotten to know Alex through Otto, who also supports this podcast. Shout out to Alex and Otto. Thank you very much. And we've asked him to share his take on how independents can combine digital tools, smart pricing strategies, and in-person care to rise above the competition and win where it matters most. Let's get into it. Please welcome Alex McIntosh.
Thank you, Trevor. Beautiful intro.
Thank you, Alex, for all you do. I know you started in a family business in optical. I've heard it being described, Otto, as born from eye care for eye care. So let's start there. Take us back to young Alex in Saskatchewan working in the family business.
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying nobody in my family is an optical professional. We don't have any optometrists, no opticians, nothing. My dad was a banker, and then one of his clients, I was born out in London, Ontario, and one of his clients was this kind of one-off optical shop in Regina, Saskatchewan, a place nobody in my family had ever been. And my dad took the leap in 1999 to move us out there and take over that optical shop. So he knew nothing of optics even really at the time. I'm sure he knew something, but not enough to make that move. But nevertheless, moved our family out to Regina, kind of started anew, and then over the next, I guess, 19 years, grew that one store to be, I think it was 23 or 24 by the time they sold and retired. So I grew up kind of helping out in and out of the stores, seeing everything from the surfacing lab to the sales floor to the head office and everything in between at every age. Before I was even legally allowed to take a paycheck. My mom would just promise me chicken nuggets on the way home. So that's kind of how I came to know the industry. But just like my dad, I'm not an optometrist. I'm not an optician, but I do happen to know the space pretty well just by being kind of submerged in it for so long.
What did that early exposure to optical stores teach you about how the industry works?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, nobody outside of the space could ever appreciate how much goes on behind the scenes. If you're just out there shopping for glasses, you have no concept of what's going into it. And a lot of it is super tedious, I found. I remember spending a whole afternoon one day just cleaning sticker goo off of lenses or off of temples. And that just to me seemed like an ineffective use of my time. But that's obviously an extreme example. But a lot goes into the business, and just me kind of always being a bit technically bent. I was constantly surveying the way we were doing things and trying to find opportunities to do things a little bit better, so that less time was spent on the mundane and more time was spent letting people be people and do what people do best.
Yeah, two thoughts there. One, regardless, you still got chicken nuggets when you went home, so that's a positive.
I didn't even have to do a good job. I got the chicken nuggets.
That's perfect. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. For me, it was a honey cruller at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
That was my reward for I don't know what I did. I just knew I was getting Timmy's. So the other thing that I think of is a curiosity you had, Alex, when you were working in the stores to analyze it from a technical perspective to constantly improve. And I think it doesn't matter what year it is, there's always ways to look at your processes and improve them. And just because you've always done that the same way doesn't mean you should do that going forward. Maybe you could do it better. Maybe you could do more efficiently. Maybe you could do better patient care that way. Maybe it's less expensive to do it that way. Maybe it's faster to do it a new way. So we always have our newest employees look at everything from the ground floor and analyze or feedback anything that they see and wonder, why are we doing it this way, so that we can constantly reanalyze and improve and re-engineer our processes. Thoughts on that?
That's brilliant. Yeah, sometimes our perspective kind of goes stale when we've been doing the same thing the same way for so long. So I think it's brilliant to kind of weaponize a fresh set of eyes to come in and scrutinize everything that you guys are sort of doing by sheer inertia. An anecdote kind of comes to mind, just having an efficiency mindset. And this isn't even a technical example, but it just always resonated with me where we were super busy one day. And I don't know if every kind of back office does the same thing, but we have this like tray system where we would kind of age trays through the status of the patients kind of fulfilling their order. And anyway, inside these plastic trays were these little paper labels where we'd write the name of the patient, and we would cut them out of these giant Bristol board things that we would get from Dollarama or the dollar store or whatever. And one time we were super busy, super overwhelmed, and the person kind of in the back office working away at that was individually cutting out each little tray label with a pair of scissors and writing the name and putting it in. And I kind of had to stop her in my squeaky 13-year-old voice and say, like, why don't you just cut out 1,000 tray label, take 10 minutes, do them all at once. And then she said, I don't have time to do that. And that kind of stuck with me because I thought, well, turns out you don't have time not to do that, So it just seemed like this person was kind of acting out of sheer instinct to just get each one thing done at a time, but was failing to maybe take a step back, take a breath, and invest in maybe a more efficient process.
And I think that's a fundamental problem with a lot of our practices, a lot of the ways. There's an emotional attachment to how you've done things. And I think that stems from ego or some misconstrued perception in any team member. It could be the owner, it could be an optician, it could be the front desk, it could be any of our team members. And that whole change culture is so important to moving forward as an organization. So this is year 30 for me, Alex, if you can believe it. I know I look super young.
God, I can't believe it at all. I actually couldn't believe when you said you had kids in doing advanced degrees. That didn't make sense to me either.
I'll slip you $20 later, pal. Thanks for that. That unknown piece and having a curiosity in technology has probably driven you towards where Otto is and future things to come. Why don't you explain to us what Otto is exactly in a nutshell?
Yeah, at the super highest level, it's a platform used by eye care practices and their staff to manage contact lens ordering. That has all kinds of happy benefits, but also sort of takes control of the process of reaching back out to patients to help capture and facilitate refill orders on an ongoing basis, with the end goal of really just improving capture rates, improving lifetime value of a customer. And I'm happy to get into more details on that, but what I was gonna say was, so we have all these tools that we offer, and I'll encounter people just like you were describing who over the years have developed their own Otto-like process through a patchwork of Excel spreadsheets and phone calls and emails and copying and pasting and doing all this kind of stuff that they're really proud of. And I can visibly see that they're resistant to moving away from that, even though what we've done is much in the same spirit of as that, but I would argue a lot just cleaner and more efficient. And I wonder how, if you must face analogous situations, not just implementing change, but getting people excited for change.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is you need to shed the ego for everybody, including the leader, meaning everybody's replaceable, including me. And actually replacing yourself is powerful in a way. And that's the mindset you want people to think of. I read this book recently called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Very fascinating. They said, listen, replace yourself. That's how you're going to improve your efficiencies and make it. So it's a constant mindset of how you can delegate, change, use technology to kind of make yourself redundant, but you'll find other things to do higher up the food chain. So we have 5 cold start practices, almost 70 team members, and I'm moving towards being more of a CEO type role. I still am doctoring as an optometrist, but that whole process piece is just a mindset to me, and you just have to let it go. If you build those walls and you can never move the walls, you'll never get out of your little cell that you've built for yourself. And everybody on your team has to think like that too. And I think it's just getting them to buy in, and that includes profit sharing, profit share the efficiencies. So if they've got skin in the game in your practice and you're sharing your profits, well, they're more prone to buying in, so to speak. I think you need to make sure you establish that as a base level piece so everybody's not clinging to their own little castle building. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. I'm thrilled to share an exciting new resource for professionals in the eye health industry, Eye Care Collective. Eye Care Collective is redefining collaboration and growth in our industry. Whether you're a clinic owner, optician, or an eye care professional, this platform empowers you with the tools you need to streamline your operations and elevate your success. As a member, you'll enjoy the benefits of consolidated billing, access to competitive pre-negotiated discounts, and programs tailored to support the unique needs of your practice. If you're ready to amplify your impact in the world of eye care, visit www.eyecarecollective.ca and find out how Eye Care Collective can support your journey to success. You probably do a good job of capturing contact lens sales after seeing a patient. But what happens when they use up their initial supply? Yes, your patients love you, but at refill time, they're probably just taking the path of least resistance to restock their lenses, going online or to the big box stores. These missed opportunities add up to tens of thousands of dollars leaking out of your business. That's where Otto comes in. Otto allows you to be that path of least resistance. Otto is the easiest way for eye care practices to stay engaged with patients and offer them a frictionless way to order their contact lenses and dry eye products from you, rather than from your competitors. Timely refill reminders and one-click reorders offer patients an unbeatable purchasing experience. And on the back end, Otto is integrated directly with your suppliers to allow for uber-efficient order management and fulfillment, saving valuable staff time. Over 600 clinics across Canada and the U.S. are already using Otto to reclaim lost sales and simplify their workflow. Want to learn more? Check out their website at ottooptics.io. That's OTTO optics.io. Sell more, do less with Otto.
I very much empathize with that sentiment because that's been my journey. Is just I used to be a one-man show. I used to do everything, and I've tried my best to either establish processes that make me redundant and buy back some of my time, or hire people to infill some of the stuff that I've been doing. We're by definition a super lean company. We're 10 people now, and we do the work of an army, and we're constantly growing. So our people are growing in tandem, and as we make ourselves redundant, we're just sort of keeping up with the new demand. So, but I can imagine as we reach a level of maturity that this would become more something I need to be mindful of.
I think we need to evolve for sure because our scope's changing and the opportunity ahead of us is changing. And, as per Otto, there's a lot of competition out there that's trying to get our patients.
That was really how Otto was born. I was the first person in the history of my family business to ever actually look at the mountain of data that we'd collected through our practice management system. And when I did, there was a lot of things that stood out to me. And the one that inspired Otto was for all the money we were spending on marketing, acquiring new patients, you could just see the same number of patients walking right out the back door. And it sounds cliche at this point, but it's 10 times less expensive to keep a customer than it is to acquire a new one.
Yeah, 100%. We recently had our capture rate measured, and we're at 70 plus. So we're way up there in our capture rates. And I think part of that is our pricing strategy, and Otto has helped us communicate with the patient. So a lot of times it's convenience and opportunity and ease and free shipping, but also price plays a role. And I just wanted to pick your brain, Alex, on pricing. I'm going to tell you my pricing strategy, and I want your thoughts on that. I have a per box pricing strategy because that's how our patients are priced too. So if you buy 1 for 8 boxes, it's still the same price. It's a flat box pricing strategy. Sure, you can get rebates if rebates are available. I take a variable margin based on some of the arrangements I have with certain suppliers. My preferred suppliers, I have a better margin. My other suppliers, I still do lots of volume, but my margin's a little tighter because big box has competitive pricing. I try to basically benchmark to the big box vendors or use alternative product that's not available there. And I still do well. I build in a premium eye exam, great service, and I retain my contact lens patients so they don't lose mind space. I don't want them to shop somewhere else and then maybe disappear forever. I'd like to collect the margin, but that repeat business, that incremental business over time, where maybe I don't even have to do anything for them to refill their purchases via Otto, I just get the revenue and can invest in better patient care, more staff, technologies, etc. Thoughts?
A few threads I want to pull out there. First of all, 70% capture rate, that's impressive. I think I've seen about 40% is pretty typical. So at 70%, kudos to you. Yeah, I think there's this kind of long held conception among people in our industry, among practitioners, that the order of operations for a patient's, for what motivates a patient is loyalty first, price second, convenience some afterthought, third place. What we find is it's exactly the inverse of that. It is convenience first. Pricing matters, but it isn't everything. And I hate to break it to everyone. Yes, your patients love you. They're just following the path of least resistance at this point. They're not loyal enough to wait until Monday morning most of the time to call you and pay a higher price. So, this is all to say, if you can break down the barriers between a patient needing their contact lenses or whatever other products they need and acquiring those things, then you're going to capture the sale every time, as long as you're within reasonable range of your competitor at a price on a pricing level. So our recommendation to people is, yeah, I love the per box pricing. I don't I don't uh, I don't discourage offering semi-annual or annual discounts, but I can speak more to why I don't think those are necessary. And then with the rebates, you're competitive every time. As long as you're within ballpark, then just make it super convenient and frictionless for the patient, and you're gonna win that war 10 times out of 10. It's and Otto can help you with the benchmarking too. We have a bot that goes out and scrapes clearly.ca and 1-800 contacts for the up to the day price. We display it for you as kind of a sanity check on your own pricing to make sure that you're not totally out to lunch, that you're not undercutting them, or that you're not way overpricing as well. So we can help you in that front.
Yeah, what would your ballpark pricing be? Typically I say you should be within 10%.
That's exactly what we say too. Just make sure you're within 10% of the competitor. And I know a lot of clinics pay attention. They'll have a staff member every 6 months go and catalog all the pricing at clearly.ca or whatever as that sort of sanity check. And so we've just automated that process. We just bring it and present it to you right there. So just take a quick look. We'll even flag it like visually. We'll show you a little colored icon if we think you're too high or too low. But yeah, don't feel like you need to undercut, but just be within reasonable range, and patients won't blink at when they buy from you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alex. I would just offer a couple thoughts here on retaining your patients and having a high capture rate. One, everyone gets a quote. Everyone gets a quote. If a patient says they're going to Costco, well, you're definitely could. But guess what? Here's our pricing. This is what we offer you. You get us. So nobody leaves without a quote with their contact lens RX. They get a quote, and then they can realize we're quite competitive all the way across. And then number two is making sure that you decrease the barriers to business. For example, we don't have a separate eye exam that's with contacts or without contacts. It's just normalized inside. So we found in the past, patients would hide the fact they're wearing contacts because they didn't want to pay an extra $35 or whatever the number was. Forget that. Just normalize your price. We found that retention high. What happens? The spill-off effect is our associates get paid well. We attract, good doctors because they're like, wow, they get to keep their contact lens revenue. So it's a full circle piece. It all works together if you can retain each part of your business. Alex, 8 to 12% is contact lens revenue. So that isn't a massive piece of our business, but it's an important 8 to 12%. I want it. And as a startup for 5 clinics, I need it. I need that revenue to help me pay my bills. So it was important when we're thinking capture rate, we're thinking everything: contact lenses, drops, glasses, eye exams, recalls, everything. So we're battling for mind space there for our patients and their purchasing dollars. If they can spend it with us, we appreciate it, and hopefully they get value too. And as you said, the path of least resistance, you're absolutely bang on. The patient's going to do, or the customer, as they kind of leave your practice and become a retail customer, they're going to do what's best for them. They're going to do what's most convenient for them and in their best value. Can you make it best for them to buy from you through your channels? And Otto helps facilitate that.
You said so many things I absolutely love to hear. So, first of all, the success you're having by making sure patients go home with a quote, that's music to my ears, man. This is something that we preach. We try to get all of our customers onto what we call a success call. We are aware of all these best practices, and we just want to make sure that people are sort of poised to have the best possible experience with our service. And one of the things we always say is, if the patient is not leaving with a box of contacts or a receipt, they should at least be leaving with a quote. And we have a feature right in Otto called Lens Quote that it takes 2 seconds to produce a quote, breaks out the patient's purchasing options by supply level, makes it really easy for them to digest. And then once they leave the practice, at least you're still a part of that discovery process for the patient. Like, a lot of the time they do go home and intend to shop around, and if they don't have some relic of your pricing with them, you're forgotten in that process. And so they might check Clearly, they might check Costco, whatever, and they have you as sort of they can retain a reference to that. And I think that really does go a long way in improving capture rate. So I'm glad to hear that that's worked for you, for sure.
I think it makes it seamless and easy. I think that's a rule, though. The path of least resistance sometimes for an optician is to just say, okay, we'll see you, instead of it being a rule that everybody gets a quote. So everybody needs to get a quote. I think that's a key piece in the equation, and Otto can help you do it. So I think that's really, really great.
I wanted to pull out another thread you sort of laid out there as well, which is absolutely understand that contact lenses are 8 to 10% of the business. I think that's why we struggle to kind of convince some clinics that they need Otto because they see contacts as just this afterthought. Maybe it's a necessary evil they kind of play because they have to play. But the way we see it is, while that's all true, contact lenses also represent an opportunity for you to maintain a relationship with that patient. So if they want contact lenses and you're sending them elsewhere, well, you might have lost an eye exam patient, a glasses customer, all the things that come with that. But also, I can't remember the source of this statistic, but don't quote me on this, but I think I read somewhere that something like 30% of patients go to a new optometry practice every time they get their eyes examined, every 2 or 3 years or however often they're doing it. And I think that's probably in large part a result of the fact that, once we say our goodbyes on exam day, we're sort of just hoping that they're coming back. A lot of us will have a recall system or whatever, which helps for sure. But contact lenses give us an opportunity to touch base with them every 3 or 6 months or whatever it is, let them know we're still their friend, and keep us in their minds for when it is exam time again.
Alex, I once had a patient say to me a few years ago, they're like, hey, and back in Mill Bay, I saw your dad. I'm like, dude, that was me. I'm still here. It's not, no, it's me. So anyway, that's how long I've been in practice. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, people forget who the heck you are and who they've seen. So a really good point to have that touch piece together. Are there things in Otto that we can communicate besides like a sunglass sale or other things, like a communications piece for patients?
So we get asked this all the time. Otto is not a marketing tool, but if you do, need to engage with a singular patient, and offer them a personalized um, experience, then Otto's the tool for that situation. So, this is true of contact lenses. If you want to follow up with a trial patient or something, and offer them an easy route for ordering their full supply, or dry eye patients. If you see a dry eye patient and you prescribe sort of a basket of certain products, rather than just send them on their merry way and leave them to their own devices to find those things, we can curate kind of a basket for them, and get them right to basically the checkout. So all they have to do is pay, and they get their products delivered to them. So yeah, it's not quite a broadcast marketing promotional tool, but it's more of a personalization targeted tool for when a patient needs something.
I wanted to ask you some questions about in person versus digital or online chains. So we try to do omni-channel. Basically, we have in person, we have online, we have telehealth. We're trying to manage our communications piece. So, Alex, I wanted to ask your thoughts on the in person versus online channels and how you blend that seamlessly for the best patient experience. What are some of the biggest do's and don'ts?
Yeah, omni-channel is the word that I think most people know at this point. But I think one of the mistakes that I see is when a clinic has all the right intentions of establishing an online presence, but failing to effectively blend it with the retail component of their business. I think there needs to be, for it to work, it needs to be a perfectly seamless blending of your in-store and online universes. So we've seen it happen a ton where, a clinical, they think to themselves, we got to be online, we got to give our patients an online option. So we'll open an e-commerce store, a Shopify store, or a Sightly store or something like that. But what that turns out to be is just a silo, almost like a siloed business in and of itself, where you're basically relying on it to generate its own business, and the experience is disjointed from the retail experience. I love to see it where if a patient does something in store, it's reflected online, and vice versa. If they do something online, it's reflected in store. So this is, I think, what we try to do with Otto, where, um, you know, uh, even for like a retail contact lens sale, if your staff is using Otto to fulfill that order, to place the order, we have nothing to do with the point of sale at that point. That patient is enrolled into Otto so that they still get a refill reminder when they're going to need it down the road. So even though they're a retail patient, they get the benefits of the sort of digital experience, and they can seamlessly kind of jump in and out of your digital and retail business. So I don't know if that's like a concrete do or don't, but those are kind of my high level thoughts on it.
Well, I think that's perfect. You should represent yourself online the same way you do in person. I think whether that's social media or whether it's online retailing, I think it needs to be consistent. It needs to be consistent pricing. It needs to be consistent offerings, whether it's in person or online. And so I think that those are great tools and great pieces of advice. What would you say the strengths of independent clinics have that corporate chains can't replicate? And how can they double down on those as they go digital?
Yeah, Well, one of the this is I'll just go back to kind of the last point there. So one of the ways you can really seamlessly blend is with prescription. So yes, absolutely, pricing should be consistent. We always emphasize that where we can, but you being the primary eye care provider, you already know their prescription. So if the patient leaves your practice and wants to go and order online, whether today or when it's refill time in 6 months, when they pull up your website or follow their link, they shouldn't have to go hunting for their contact lenses. We already know what they need and when they're going to need it. And so I think that represents kind of the disjointedness of failure to effectively blend the retail and the online. Is Patient goes to your website, they're an existing patient, they have a file with you, and they still have to go hunting among hundreds of options. They don't even really know what lens they wear. Whereas, when it's better blended, then patient just pulls up their file, they can order their lenses without having to try too hard. And so I think that's what primary care providers have as an advantage over, call it the big box or the online, which is you have this sort of exit through the gift shop advantage where you are the ones who are writing the prescriptions, and it's the prescription that's the beginning of the whole patient journey. And so as long as you can give them kind of seamless access to their their file and their products, then I think that works to your advantage every single time.
Exit through the gift shop strategy. That's perfect. That's exactly what we have. The miss on that, Alex, is not having an interaction when you're on exit, not having an enrollment, not having a quote sheet, not having an opportunity to have a consultation. So, as part of our eye care experience, everyone, when they leave the exam room, gets a consultation. Regardless of their intentions, whether to buy from us or not, they get a consultation, they get their quotes, they get their prescription all packaged up for them. So they know what our offering is, and there's clarity there of what we're trying to do and give them. They get the freedom to go anywhere they want, but they have the opportunity to buy from us. We have to give them a chance. We have to take a swing at it. I think that's sometimes where capture rates go lower because we've given up before even trying.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I really hope everybody hears that and takes it to heart because I think that's absolute wisdom.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the future of software. It's pretty exciting. You and I have chatted offline about EMRs and practice management systems and what's going to happen down the road. What do you think it's going to be like in a thriving clinic 5 years from now, utilizing software solutions like Otto?
Yeah, I kind of started my intro or the conversation talking about some of the tedium that we all observe in an eye care practice. There's a lot of kind of mundane, repetitive stuff that has to happen behind the scenes, and there's an opportunity cost associated with every activity that we're doing that isn't sort of leveraging our best qualities as members of the team, right? So I imagine, the tools that are available now and soon to become available are going to reduce the amount of sort of non like dehumanizing work that we have to do so that our teams, our staff can be freed up to do the things that they should be doing more of, which is the human to human stuff that AI just isn't poised to do for at least for some time. So I think if we can spend less time processing contact lens orders or billing patients or doing the sort of monotony, that should in theory free us up to spend more time engaging with patients on the sales floor, doing consultations, the sort of high value human to human work. I imagine will take center stage more than it is today.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's absolutely what's going to happen. And we had one of our guests on Optometry Unleashed, the futurist Sean Kanungo, and he was talking about customized AI avatars to be your agent in place. What are your thoughts on? My son has created a rover chat GPT. It's Trevor backwards, and it's fed it information, and it's quite incredible. If you ask Rover to be your guide in optometry or in any other aspect that I would answer, it almost has a better answer from me. It has a flavor that it seems like it's coming from me. So what are your thoughts on that and adding that to help be your digital guide when you're maybe going through the ordering operations? Could I customize an AI avatar that helps my patients navigate Otto, for instance?
Yeah, I'd have to give more thought to that particular use case, but I imagine there's something there. We use these things all the time, internally or, I mean, even client facing. So if you need support from us, your first point of contact is an AI agent that is trained on every question we've ever heard from Otto. So it's not just ChatGPT that you're facing, it's ChatGPT, but who knows everything about Otto, more about Otto than I even know. And so, people hate the chat bot. Fair enough. This one's highly effective. And, we're still humans there to escalate if you need it. But I also use it internally. So we have our own version of ChatGPT, again, trained on all things Otto. It knows our voice, it knows our messaging. And so we all on my team use it to draft emails or marketing or do all kinds of stuff that we can just do much more efficiently and more effectively now. I think it does a better job than any of us would have been able to do if we were going at it solo. So I really do. We take advantage of it at every opportunity.
Well, that's reassuring to know. I think a lot of my colleagues are not doing that enough. We had a guest, Ritesh Patel, and he is doing that in all sorts of ways to manage inventory and advice on which frame lines to move along and which ones to bring in and reprice and all those things. So I think it's fascinating. We need to do better at this as a group because we're up against it. There's a lot of competition out there, and we want to be better and more streamlined so that we can utilize our human resources for human interaction. So I love that piece of advice. That's very, very good. What's one or two digital automations that you think every independent clinic should have in place this year?
I mean, contact lens ordering, that's something that you shouldn't have to be doing as a separate process. I think that's an easy one. But the other one that comes to mind is, you've got really skilled scribes that work for you, and not to undermine the amazing work that they do, but this is an area where AIs are really, I think, positioned to be particularly effective, is just capturing information that's kind of floating around it. So this is an area that I see a lot of people starting to implement AI is with these AI scribes that basically just listen to your consultation and note everything that's being talked about. But I think one of the key differences there, or one of the important caveats there is not just capturing the information, not just capturing the data, but actually using it to your advantage to do things that you couldn't really do otherwise. So, of course, there's all the diagnostic information that needs to be recorded and everything like that. But in the moments between the moments, you're having a human to human chat with somebody. You're getting to know your patient and you're learning about them. And so as you sort of get to know the patient, you can build a much richer patient profile beyond just their date of birth and their medical history. I I think of I used to go to my dentist. I went to school in Montreal at McGill. I went to university, but I would always come back to Regina to go to the dentist. And I always remembered that it always struck me when my dental hygienist would kind of ask me questions about my time in Montreal or at school or whatever. And I thought it's cool that she remembers that. And only later in life did I come to realize they were just really effective at keeping my patient profile. And so I think being able to use these AI tools, these automation tools, don't just allow us to do the same things more efficiently, but we can do the same things more efficiently and better than we're currently doing them.
It's true. How effective. It reminds me of a story. I was at a dinner party this weekend. It was my wife's school, and this gentleman who's one of the board members in this private school, he came up and chatted with me. I've seen him before as a patient, and he started talking to me about my 5 clinics and the locations. And I thought, my goodness, how do you know so much about me? I've met you as a patient, but I know you know my wife. And he said, I researched you before I came to this party. I thought, wow, that's incredible. that he would do that. And it really, he did his homework to have an interaction with me. I mean, couldn't we do a better job at doing our homework to have an interaction with our patient who's paying to see us? I mean, I think that's a great opportunity right there. So it just made me think, wow, I could really know my patient better before they sit down in my exam chair. We do something called a huddle, Alex, where we try to, figure out what are the patient's wants based on their intake forms, and what are the tests based on their past history and their intake form and their disease and such. But wow, couldn't we really research them, have an AI summary that helps us really know that patient better? Can we understand so that the patient would never dream of leaving us because we're so into it, we did our homework?
Absolutely, absolutely. And 5 years ago, that would have sounded like an overwhelming amount of work to do your homework on every single patient and write down everything that they said in their last exam, and be able to kind of review that and recall that for the next time they come. But suddenly we've got these amazing tools that make that all super possible.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Alex, what are one of the things that clinics should stop doing next year? You give me one, I'll give you one. It doesn't have to be digital. It doesn't have to be contact lens related, but what should they stop doing?
I'll tell you, I mean, from firsthand experience, if I have to wait until Monday morning to call someone, I'm just going to Google an alternative solution to that. So you're right, booking, online exam booking is I think the prototypical example, but even being able to reorder your contact lenses to kind of bring it back home to Otto, I think just allowing patients to be able to do that in their underwear on Saturday night is game changing, because if they can't do it from you, better believe a large portion of them are going to find somewhere where they can do it. Stop making patients wait until Monday morning to call you if they need something.
Yeah, have a 24/7 solution. Whether that's a text. I give my patients my phone number, so they can text me. They don't usually do that. It's rare, but I think you could have somebody rotating on call that they can answer things, or you could have your web be able to answer questions. Refer them to the website where you have your agent be able to answer them. Online bookings, Alex, we all should be doing this. You could make an appointment 24/7. So that's really good. Don't make patients wait. Reduce the barriers to doing business. My advice for stopping something would be, don't price your contact lenses like everybody's buying an annual supply. Because that's only 14% of the market, Alex. I don't know if you know that. 60% of the market is 1 and 2 boxes in Canada. That's Canadian data. So why do optometrists only have a bundled solution? Why not have that solution for that 60% of the market that like to buy their contacts incrementally, 2 boxes at a time? I know Otto has that solution.
I really do try to philosophize with people on exactly this point. I think this tendency to push the annual supply at any cost is driven of a certain paranoia that patients won't come back, which I think is well-founded, kind of in a world where you're just sort of crossing your fingers and hoping that they do come back. But with a tool like Otto, who's going to make sure we keep tabs on patients, even if they buy a 3-month supply, they're going to come back in 3 months, and then you're not basically forfeiting revenue over the year, motivated by this fear that they're not going to come back.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks for that. I wanted to go to a very popular segment that we have, Alex. It's called Better One or Better Two. It's like I'm refracting you, and just a little tip. You could say you can't tell they're the same. That's actually the end point that optometrists are waiting for when we're refracting. Better one or better two. Sometimes, for those patients that refuse to make a decision, I decide for them what is better, because I have to move on to the next patient, because it's also so very, very close. So here you go. Better one or better two. Who has better customer service? Better one, Asia, or better two, North America?
North America. Absolutely. This is something we do very well.
Love it. Better one, a red-eye flight with a crying baby. Or better two, an early morning client call. I should say worse one or worse two, but better one, a red-eye flight with a crying baby, or better two, an early morning client call?
Better one, 100%, because that suggests I'm on my way somewhere cool.
Well, that's a great answer. Absolutely. And when you get there, the baby will be sleeping and you can have a cocktail.
That's exactly right. You're filling in the gaps for me here.
Beautiful. Better one child, or better two kids?
Better three kids, I think.
Oh, love it. Yes, that's the number for me, 100%. Better one, pitching Otto to a clinic owner, or better two, pitching a new idea to your parents' family business.
Well, those are sort of the same thing. Auto started as an idea for my parents' family business. Um, but no, I love pitching auto. I love doing demos. I don't do them all anymore. I have an amazing team who does most of them for me. But when I do sort of step in and help out, it's still one of my favorite parts of the job. Is it just lets me kind of fangirl out on auto. And I love most of the time people are excited with what they see, and it's so gratifying to just see people get excited about this baby that I created.
And I'm so proud of you, actually, Alex. It's really neat for someone like me, an entrepreneur, a business person that sees other people that take chances and build a success. Kevin Willem, another guest on Optometry Unleashed and a friend of both of ours, we've been able to, see each other's businesses grow. And you're right in that category too, Alex. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the highs are high and the lows are low, as you know. Any entrepreneur will share that, and but it's been so worthwhile. I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Awesome. Alex, as we work to sort of some final thoughts, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. You've worked on the intersection of digital and traditional business. Where do you see the patient journey heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think we've sort of touched on fragments of it at various points throughout the conversation here, where I think it's going to be much more personalized in ways, yeah, like we sort of talked about how as we can kind of do our homework better on each patient and retain more of our interactions with each individual patient, it just empowers us to offer them a much more personalized and tailored experience. I think self-service is going to be more and more prominent. Not just ordering your own contact lenses from your underwear on a Saturday night, but being able to do kind of a lot more things through the patient journey. I'd love to throw that back at you though, because I don't really know what happens in the exam room, and I think that's really where that's kind of a black box to me. But I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity for disruption or for inevitable change in there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the journey's going to start way before that patient comes into the eye exam, and it's going to be a continuing journey and a continuing relationship. So tools like Otto can help us with that. And being able to completely customize the solution and the diagnostic solution based on genetics, based on family history, based on your tendencies and what you like and what you don't like. Be great to know people's color preferences. It'd be great to know people's style preferences. What are their fashion influences? What are their sports that they'd like to play? I had a patient, she plays pickleball 6 days a week, 65-year-old. She's trying to cut it down to 3 days a week. She's addicted like me to pickleball. I think that's an opportunity there to really capture every opportunity in eye care. And I think some of the misses are we're not even broaching contact lenses because we're worried about dry eye or we're worried about glaucoma or we're worried about something else. But this patient's never worn contact lenses before, but because I suggested, hey, let's give it a try. Go play pickleball. I'm going to just throw on some contacts on your eyes and you can play. So to me, part of that journey is just understanding what's in front of you before they come in and then continuing the relationship in a customized and personal way as we go forward. One of the really proud things I have, Alex, of my interactions with my patients, and my staff kind of joke about this, is the patients phone up and they say, hey, I want to see Trevor. I'm a friend of his. And they're not really a friend of mine. They're a patient that feels like a friend. And the staff joke, are these friends of yours? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go with that, because that's how they feel the experience has been. And that's what I want, right? That is the glue piece that I've been working on for 30 years is, yeah, they're like friends. We're coming in having a chit chat. They know me, I know them, I know their eyes, I know what to expect, I know the things that they love, I know their challenges, and I'm their guide through that. So could I use technology to help me that with that? And can I use technology when they leave that they still feel connected to me? What are the strings that we can be connected? And I think absolutely everybody should get Otto, and then that should be just one piece of the puzzle as we go forward. So if you had 5 minutes alone with every independent OD in Canada, what would you tell them?
I would tell them beginner's mind, remove any kind of preconceptions you have of your own patient journey and walk through the patient journey. Put yourselves in the shoes of your patients. It happens all the time where I'll have a great productive conversation with somebody we work with or who, we want to work with, and they put a ton of emphasis on the patient experience, the patient experience, the patient experience. And when I kind of double click on that and learn about their actual patient journey, I go like, where is the special sauce here? And there's a lot of friction that I think clinics kind of don't maybe recognize in their own journey. Invest some time in just kind of reviewing and rethinking your patient journey from beginning to end. And I think you'll 9 times out of 10 will notice there's area for improvement.
And I think sometimes it's just a mindset there, Alex, right? Can you just think, yes, we can do that. And if we can't do that, we're going to find a way to do something similar or make you happy in another way. So sometimes you don't know the absolute solution, but I tell my team, hey, say yes. And if we can do it, we're going to do it. I mean, even if it costs us a little bit more to do it, let's just say yes as much as we possibly can. So can you help getting the yes? Can you use technology to help you say yes more? I would say, and I would say yes to that. Of course, it's just seamless and more efficient and better personalization. It's a stickiness factor that patients won't soon forget, and they'll want to keep coming back, like you did to your dentist. You came back to Regina because they remembered you went to McGill. That stuck with you, and I think those are important pieces. They don't take much, but it shows that you care, and caring in this world will mean a lot for future relationships.
Absolutely, and I think an overarching note that I think captures all of that is don't be afraid to invest in your business too. Investing in equipment is obvious. That has a pretty clear cut ROI. But investing in your patient experience, in your patient journey, where the ROI isn't necessarily cut and dry, is usually worth it in the long run. And so just, don't be afraid to spend a dollar if in 2 years it's going to yield you two. Where I think a lot of the times we're just reluctant to spend that dollar if the return isn't super clear.
Yeah, I'd go a step further than that. Budget to spend the dollar. So we have
Yeah.
we use something called benchmarking with I recommend, Alex, where we take our revenue mix, and we have a marketing budget, we have a equipment budget. We're spending those dollars. We have a patient experience budget, a staff experience budget. We're spending those dollars to invest in our staff training budget. How we utilize those dollars, we can decide what it looks like in specifics. But the fact is, we're committed to that spend, and that is a good mindset as well. Sometimes when you haven't planned to make this spend, then the spend seems onerous because it's like, wow, I'm dropping a big figure here, but you should have already budgeted that and planned to do it, so it's not a surprise to you. And then you back off and you realize, you've been going backwards and haven't invested. It's why, Alex, my 5 clinics have grown, because I have a recipe and I know they'll grow and continue to grow because I'm reinvesting in the practice. So what you put in is what you get back.
Oh, I think that's sage advice. I think most of us do that in our personal lives to some extent. It feels so nice when you plan a trip or you're planning a trip, you've already paid for the flights, you've already paid for the hotel, you can just sort of go through the trip with ease. Like if you've already budgeted or set aside funds to invest in your business, you can invest with ease. I love that advice. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, thanks for that, and thanks for joining us here on Optometry Unleashed. Alex, is there anything that our listeners should look out for from Alex McIntosh and Otto Optics? How can they get a hold of you? What are you going to leave our audience with?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Otto, our website is Otto, OTTO, Optics. There's a lot of O's in there. I promise you it's the right number of O's. It's not, you're not, there's no typo. .io, India Oscar is the website, autooptics.io. You can find everything you need there. You can also book a call to meet with me or one of my great members of my team. So that's where you can find out more about us. We're constantly innovating. We're always releasing new features and updates. So, the Otto you get today is not the Otto you're going to have 6 months from now. And I'm not sure when this will be released, but we have a huge suite of new features that we're just kind of stockpiling for a major release that I'm super excited for. And it's going to make a lot of people happy, I think. Really further streamlining things, eliminating some of the double entry with your EHR and stuff like that. So lots to come down the pipe.
I think that's amazing, and thank you for making our lives easier or helping us retain our patients, because we're in a battle and we want to have every single patient stay with us and have a great experience. So thanks, Alex, for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. I look for great things in the future. I just feel you and I specifically will be collaborators in something great as we go forward. So love your mindset. I love your entrepreneurialism. And I just want to thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed and look forward to great things in the future.
Likewise. Yeah, I really share that sentiment and I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.